So, not to bring the Scrooge this early into the holiday season, but after researching and reviewing the trailer for the new Netflix documentary on the JonBenet Ramsey case, I have to say it sure looks like we are going to be served up a whole lot of bah humbug. Hello, and welcome into another episode of Examining the Evidence in the case of JonBenet Ramsey. The new docuseries is titled Cold Case: Who Really Killed JonBenet Ramsey, and will drop next week on the streaming giant Netflix. And like I was saying, after researching and finding out who the characters are who are involved in the making of the documentary, I can tell you that the title should read Old Case: Who Didn't Kill JonBenet Ramsey? You might ask why, and I will tell you old because there will be nothing new or of relevance that would help solve this case. You will see old evidence, old PowerPoint presentations, tried and untrue theories, served up with a side of old suspects dug up from the Ramseys did not do it recycling bin.
Christmas, mother wrote a note, father took care of business.
What you won't see is any new investigative work into a suspect or suspects. Instead, you will see the same old drummer boy beating the same old, the police messed up and mishandled the case from the very beginning, and how the media leaked information which damaged the case and disparaged the Ramseys. You will also hear the familiar beat of the DNA drum and how the Ramseys should have been exonerated and excluded as suspects from the very beginning of the case because the results of the early DNA testing revealed no Ramsey DNA was matched to any of the incriminating evidence inside the house. This argument is a false attribution again that plays into the naivete of the people in the public who don't have the knowledge and are mainly misinformed because of the CSI effect on how DNA is evaluated in cases like the Ramseys. If this was true, that the lack of Ramsey DNA at the crime scene should have automatically cleared the Ramseys from the very beginning, then Richard Allen, who was convicted last week for the Delphi murders, should be set free. He also should have been automatically exonerated because the forensic testing in that case showed there was no DNA of Richard Allen found on the girls, their clothing, the tree branches, or anywhere else at the crime scene. Another recent case from last year you may be familiar with is the Alex Murdaugh case. No DNA from Murdaugh was found on any of the evidence from his son or wife, Maggie. So I suppose, according to the Ramsey ideology, Alex Murdaugh is innocent too. Also, in those two cases I just mentioned, the Delphi case and the Murdaugh case, unknown male DNA was found on the victim's clothing in Delphi and under Maggie Murdaugh's fingernails. Sound familiar? Continuing to fly this false attribution into the faces of the public is a blatant misrepresentation of the evidence. One of the people touting this false attribution is John Wesley Anderson, former sheriff of El Paso County in Colorado, who wrote a book on this case last year titled Lou and JonBenet. Anderson is also listed as a technical advisor for the new Netflix documentary, which is based in part on his book. Anderson had a long and successful career as a lawman in Colorado. However, his book is filled with errors and a whole lot of mis- and disinformation. For example, on page 110 it reads, "On the north side of the Ramsey home, a black aluminum baseball bat was found lying on the concrete foundation near the Butler door. A second aluminum bat was found in the yard on the south side of the Ramsey home. The Ramseys did not believe either baseball bats belonged to them. However, they could not rule out the bats were left behind by neighborhood children who often came over to play with JonBenet and her 9-year-old brother Burke. The bat in question was Burke's. It wasn't unknown or left by an intruder."
Did they show you either of those items?
They showed me a picture of the baseball bat, like on the side of the house or something.
Yeah.
Is there anything strange about it being out there to you? And you find it odd that it's out there?
And that was my baseball bat. I would normally leave it out on the patio.
Continuing on, Lou Smith later documented in his investigative notes that the black aluminum bat had been photographed with a small pink-colored fabric material attached to the surface, consistent with the pink duvet found in the green suitcase propped up against the broken open basement window on the south side of the house. Inside the green suitcase was a Barbie doll belonging to JonBenet and one of her favorite Dr. Seuss children's books. The information contained in just these 2 paragraphs of the book are so egregious and erroneous that I just don't know how any of this made it into the book. To begin, the suitcase under the basement window was blue. Not only is it blue visually, but it is also referred to in official police interviews as blue. The duvet inside the suitcase was black, not pink. Therefore, there couldn't be a pink-colored fabric attached to the bat that could be consistent with the pink duvet, because there was no pink duvet. It doesn't exist. Forensically, the black duvet had a stain that matched the specimen of John Andrew. The Dr. Seuss book inside the suitcase didn't belong to JonBenet, rather, the adult Dr. Seuss book belonged to John Andrew as well. And also, there wasn't a Barbie doll in the suitcase, nor a Barbie nightgown that was populated a few months ago. For the sake of investigative accuracy, the items inside the blue suitcase were a pillow sham, the black duvet, and an adult Dr. Seuss book that belonged to John Andrew. How can a book on the most popular case of all time strike out and miss completely and have absolutely nothing right about the suitcase or its contents? I believe the disinformation seen here on this one page and throughout the book isn't just a simple mistake or a comedy of careless errors. When you look specifically at what the book gets wrong here just on page 110, the pink duvet that matched a fiber from the bat on the north side of the house, the inclusion of a Barbie doll, the Dr. Seuss book not being John Andrews but one of JonBenet's favorite books, all are meant to paint a picture in the viewer's or reader's mind that JonBenet was put into the suitcase at some point during the night with her pink duvet, her Barbie doll, and of course her favorite Dr. Seuss book, all to support Lou Smith's theory that she was put into the suitcase by the kidnapper but perhaps abandoned that plan when the suitcase wouldn't fit through the window. I guess never mind to just walking out the butler door with it. Now, it may seem like I'm just cherry picking on this one page to prove a point, but I promise you I'm not. Here is another just 4 pages later on page 114. Anderson is going over Lou Smith's investigative notes when this massive bit of misinformation is read. This window was found standing wide open and was photographed by the crime lab on the morning of December 26, 1996, before JonBenet's body was discovered. First of all, and I don't really know how many times I have to say or show this, but this is false and extremely misleading. The broken basement window in the basement was not standing wide open on the morning of the 26th of December when the police first arrived at 5:59 a.m. Nor was it photographed in the morning by the CSIs photographing the scene during the kidnapping phase or in the morning of the 26th. Furthermore, the window was closed but unlatched in the early morning hours when Fleet White searched the basement. It was still closed when Ramsey and White searched the basement just after 1 p.m., right before John found JonBenet in the cellar. Now, this photograph, which is the one Anderson is referring to, was shot sometime after 8:30 p.m. when the CSIs returned to the house to gather evidence, take more photos, and film the crime scene. There's a whole lot more, and this will be explored in the after episode that will air sometime after the new Netflix documentary. The new documentary will be the 6th straight major media release since 2020 to feature Lou Smith's tried and untrue theories that are largely based on the misrepresentation of the evidence in this case. This isn't just my opinion. Peers, the police, and the papers figured this out dating back to the early days of the investigation. This doesn't bode well for the documentary, which seems to be headed down the same wrong path.